What do you got, Coach? 3 things that all coaches need.
Who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of coaches?
New York or the Aces? Definitely going with the Aces.
All right, 4th down. Who has the tougher job, coaches or officials? If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? Texas is different.
Welcome back to the Coaches Co-op. I am your host, Coach P. I have our expert in the house, in the co-op for episode 3 of the Coaches Co-op with WNBA Tay. She is here to serve up another fresh pot of hot tea for tea time. Then we're going to dissect our current standings. We're going to talk about contenders and pretenders. Then we're going to dive into Tay's tops. We're going to talk about our player watch for Rookie of the Year, Most Improved, our MVPs. We may even throw a surprise in there. We also got Tay's top trash talkers. So make sure you are here for that. Tay's top trash talkers in the WNBA. Last but not least, we're going to get your money right. We got 5 games on the slate tonight for Thursday, July 3rd. So get your money together because we're coming with Tay's Parlays. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to some and introduce to others WNBA Tay. I have your mic muted. Let me fix it. There we go.
There we go.
That's a nice shirt you got on there.
Thanks. I wonder who got that for me.
So listen.
It might have been you.
I think it was Britt.
Okay.
I think
that counts.
Yeah, I think it was Britt. So we're having, for those of you who may be trying to tune in on IG, we are having some, not we, but Instagram has some issues over there on that side with that live stream. So if you're watching on another platform, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, we're good on YouTube and Twitch, but for some reason we are having some issues with IG. IG is having a platform problem. All right, with their live streaming. So let's do this. Hopefully people can catch up with us. I'll send put a message out there on my story on IG. But let's go ahead and start with tea time. Let's go ahead and start with tea time. So what's the hot tea in the WNBA this week?
Well, this week was I'd say it was pretty quiet. They kept it kind of positive in the league this week. But the Indiana Fever won the Commissioner's Cup Championship just the other day, Wednesday. Was that Wednesday? Yeah, Tuesday night. Tuesday night, they won the Commissioner's Cup Championship. The Fever are pretty disliked around the league, so I'm pretty sure we'll see some think pieces come out surrounding the championship. Additionally,
I got some thoughts.
He's one of them. He's one of them. The WNBA also announced some of the expansion teams to be coming within the next few years. Cleveland, Detroit. I said Cleveland, Detroit, and who was it? There's a third.
Yeah, see.
Cleveland, Detroit, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So some of the players had some thoughts. Specifically, we're back again with Sophie Cunningham. Some thoughts about whether or not players will be excited to go to places like Detroit or Cleveland. And Detroit fans were not happy. They had a lot to say about the past success of the Detroit Shock organization. And she's facing a lot of ridicule about her comments. So that is the hottest of tea for this week. They kept it pretty positive around the league this week.
Get in your bed. Yeah. So while we're there, once again, the WNBA expands and the city that crowned the first 4 WNBA champions is left out in the cold again. So there has to be some type of politics that are happening there. So when you look at the map, okay, when you look at the map of the WNBA, this dog right here, out. Hey, go.
He's the dog whisperer, if you didn't know.
Yeah, she's very jealous. And whenever I'm talking to somebody else, anybody else, she needs the attention. So I'm dog sitting today. All right. So back to the map. So when you look at the map geographically of the WNBA, you have an East Coast presence.
Very
strong. You have a Midwest presence, okay, with Chicago and Indiana. Now you're adding Cleveland and you're adding Detroit to that Midwest mix. And then when it comes to the South, there's Atlanta. And that's it. So you leave Atlanta and the next stop heading west is Phoenix. There's a lot of real estate in between there. So I'm very interested in hearing the information that comes out, the news that comes out surrounding that. Apparently a bid was put in for Houston by the the Fertitta brothers. But again, no team in Houston. Philadelphia, new market. Cleveland had an old franchise there. That franchise, I want to say, left Cleveland, became Tulsa, and is now Dallas. I believe that franchise is now Dallas. Not so I'll say this, and this is it might be disrespectful. Okay, I want to say all due respect to people who live in the Cleveland or Cleveland area. Early in my working career, there was a secretary at the school whose husband was a pilot. And she always told me that her husband and the other pilots called Cleveland the mistake by the lake.
Oh.
Yeah. Now this is before LeBron. Right? This is before LeBron got to Cleveland. So this is, late 90s, very early 2000s. But so just kind of, just thinking about that, when LeBron left Cleveland, he changed the entire economic infrastructure of the city, right? Businesses had to close because there was nothing there. So when we think about Cleveland as a city hosting a WNBA franchise, there's a lot more there. I want to know when you think about choosing Cleveland over a Houston.
Right. What was the thought process? I'd like to know as well.
Yeah. So, and again, that's not a zero sum. I don't want that to be a zero sum argument, as it's either Houston or Cleveland.
Right.
But I just wonder when it comes to the comparison levels. You have the state of Texas, which has no state income tax. You have the city of Houston, which is now the 3rd largest city in the country, right? You have a very successful NBA franchise here who is going to be a legit NBA championship contender coming up in the next season. You have a successful NFL franchise here. We already mentioned the previous success of the Houston Comets. You have a very successful men's college basketball team here. So the infrastructure is here. The
MLB team.
Say it again.
An MLB team, the Astros.
Yes, a very successful Major League Baseball team. So the infrastructure is here in Houston. Houston loves its sports.
Yeah.
So WNBA, you got some questions to answer. Y'all got some questions to answer. Okay. So that's it for tea time. Let's move into let's see what's next. Oh, let's look at our standings. Look at our standings. Okay. So let me go ahead and get the standings up on the screen. and let's see where we are with our current standings. All right. So standings, these are our standings through yesterday, July 2nd. There were no games yesterday, so we got the Minnesota Lynx holding tight in that top spot.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix Mercury, followed by the Liberty. The Liberty have lost 2 in a row, and they're only 500 over the last 10 games. So I have some thoughts on the Liberty. Man, the Valkyrie, Golden State is holding strong. And then Seattle. Last episode, they were 7-5. I said that's not good enough for me. 7-3 over the last 10. Since that 7-5 record, they've gone 3-2. And then you have the Aces and the Fever sitting at 500, holding on to those last 2 playoff spots. So what do you think about the standings? Not a whole lot of movement there. The Atlanta Dream are still holding tight at 4. What are your thoughts on the standings?
Definitely not what I expected coming into the season. I think the biggest, my biggest concern here is the Aces. I don't understand why they can't get over the hump and why they aren't a top 5 team. I'm not sure if it's movement in the coaching staff, just the players' chemistry together. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm concerned about the Aces. In Indiana, I honestly didn't expect for them to be at number 8 at this point in the season, playing so many games without Clark. Clark has only played a small fraction of their games this season, and they're still holding strong. Atlanta's still fighting. I think that I can see Seattle, honestly, climbing up to top 3. By the time where it's playoff time, I can see Seattle climbing up to a top 3 spot. So definitely not what I've expected. I expect to see more out of the Aces, especially with the changes that they've made that we'll talk about later. But overall, just, hey, doesn't align with my previous thoughts, but we move.
Okay. So let's talk about the Fever just for a second.
Okay.
So you said you're surprised that they're 8-8 with Caitlin Clark missing so many games.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that tell us about their overall roster?
They have some depth. Coming into the season, we knew that their biggest growth area was how they added so much depth. Like, their bench could possibly be a starting 5 for another team. And they've added so much, in my opinion, so much veteran leadership, and Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, and Natasha Howard. So those vets, and I consider Erin McDonald to kind of be a vet as well. They brought her in with the injury of Caitlin Clark. So with their veteran leadership, I think that's what's keeping them together and what's helping get them over the hump. Kelsey Mitchell is also a vet in the league at this point. She's been in the league 5 years plus. I consider her to be, a vet. So their veteran leadership is keeping them over the hump. The ball is moving. With Caitlin Clark, obviously the ball moves very, very well. So I think that they figured it out without her. They figured out how to move the ball and rack up their assist numbers without her on the floor. And I think that's also what's aiding to their success.
Okay. You mentioned the veteran leadership.
Mm-hmm.
They could have even more veteran leadership if somebody decided that they just, would have wanted to stay in Indiana.
Yeah. And I left that out in tea time. DeWanda Bonner, one of the most decorated players in the WNBA, arguably their biggest pickup in the offseason, decided she doesn't want to be a part of their organization anymore, and we're waiting to see where her next landing spot is going to be. So they've been playing without her for probably 10 plus games at this point.
Very, very, very interesting.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. Where do you think she may land versus who could really use her?
I think she'll land in Phoenix, obviously. That's where she obviously wants to be. She started her career in Phoenix. So I won't minimize it to her wanting to go to Phoenix just to be with her fiance, Alyssa Thomas. I won't minimize it to that.
Okay.
We could level it up to maybe she wants to finish her career where she started, right? In Phoenix, where she won her first championship. So I'll give DeWanna Bonner that. I think a team that could use her, honestly, this may be a bit of a stretch, but the Aces need some help. The Aces need some help. They need one thing, and they're such a talented roster, and they've added a couple of pieces, but they need that big dynamic piece. And I think she'd be a great addition to the Las Vegas Aces roster.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. I'm gonna be honest with you. You perhaps should be looking for a WNBA job in somebody's front office. Okay, because that's a great suggestion. So Vegas,
yeah,
make that move. And then in the off season, you mentioned this in episode 1, and I've been meaning to kind of come back to it, is a potential move in the off season of Enrique to Chicago. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here are on the screen right here are our predictions versus the actual standings. Minnesota still is the class of the league. Yes. Okay, still the class of the league. Phoenix is a surprise, and maybe they shouldn't be. So in accurately having a good evaluation of that roster, Alyssa Thomas is doing what Alyssa Thomas does.
Absolutely.
Right. You got Kalia Copper,
right,
who is just doing what she does. I think the surprise there has been the consistent, excellent play of Satou Sabally, and she's still healthy.
Yes. And that's coming in. That's pretty much, the only questions I believe that I had and other fans had. Would Satou Sabally be able to stay healthy? And would she be able to actually contribute to the organization the way that she has thus far? So she's been healthy. She's been contributing. She's been executing. They've been executing as a unit. And hey, Alyssa Thomas is putting up her normal numbers. Her role hasn't changed. Usually sometimes when players move around, their roles change, but her role seems to be the exact same role as it was in Connecticut. So she hasn't had to, change the dynamics of her game, which is causing her numbers to stay consistent. So
okay, so let's move into let's talk about some trades. Okay. And I'm saying some trades, but really it's just one trade that I really want to talk about, and then another potential trade that LaChina Robinson mentioned, maybe on her Twitter account.
Okay.
So that first trade is Alyssa Smith to the Aces.
Yeah. I did not see that coming. Listen, I don't know. I don't know what Dallas's plans are. I know what Vegas was shooting for. They need a legit post player in there that can actually help them put some points on the board. Kia Stokes is amazing. She's an amazing rim protector.
Is she?
She's a great rim protector, in my opinion, and I think she's a great rebounder. But she doesn't put the ball in the basket. She probably averages less than 4 points a game.
She doesn't even look at the basket.
She doesn't even look at the basket. She doesn't look for any opportunities to score. And A'ja Wilson is killing herself day in and night out to try to be that inside presence. So getting A'ja Wilson some help. They brought in Cheyenne Parker-Tyus from the Atlanta Dream, which would have been an amazing addition. But she's carrying, she's pregnant. So they're waiting for her to deliver and then return from her maternity leave. So I think in the process of waiting for Cheyenne Parker-Tyus, Alyssa Smith is a great pickup. Now, when it comes to Dallas, not sure. I guess they're just focused on building for the future because they got a 2027 draft pick in return.
Yeah.
We know that class is stacked.
Yeah. So I have more thoughts on Vegas, but I'm going to hold them for the next segment.
Okay.
And then LaChina Robinson, it was either on her Twitter account, it might have been on SportsCenter. Mm-hmm. She talked about Aaliyah Edwards of the Washington Mystics, potentially being put on the trading block. Mm-hmm. And she talked about, so you have Kiki Irefin, right? So you have her presence. playing a very, very strong role, very good rookie season. And then you have Shakira Austin.
Yeah.
Right. Who's her resurgence has just kind of squeezed Aaliyah Edwards out of the lineup. So is Vegas potentially a landing spot for her as well to add a little bit more depth, or is there somewhere else that she could end up? And if it's Vegas or whoever else, who would they be willing to give up? What does Washington need in return?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like Washington is stacked, and not stacked like in terms of superstars, but I think that they have each position filled accordingly, and that's why we have to give up an amazing player like Aaliyah Edwards. Your team is doing well in terms of roster skill when you have to give up an amazing player like Aaliyah Edwards. So I'm not really sure, honestly, what they need in return. Could Vegas use Aaliyah Edwards? Absolutely. They could use all the post presents. They could use all the post presents that they could get. But in terms of Washington and what they'd receive in return, I'm honestly not sure what they need. Maybe a point guard, because they drafted a point guard. She tore her ACL. One of their other guards, Shug, she's having an injury. So maybe a legit point guard is what Washington could benefit from.
Who has a point guard, or is there a point guard on the market? So do they perhaps waive Aaliyah Edwards, or do they trade her for a future draft pick?
Maybe some future draft picks.
Okay.
Because what we've seen with Washington is that's how they, have built some sort of success in the past couple of years. They didn't have an amazing season last year, but they were in every game. And that was mostly due to Aaliyah Edwards, right? And same thing this year with Kiki Iriafen, Sonia Citron. They drafted Georgia Amore. And we know that she would have been an amazing addition as well. So her tearing her ACL, but they do a great job picking from the draft board. So maybe they'll look to acquire some draft picks in return. Yeah.
And then I also want to say this. When players come out of UConn, they are pro ready.
Absolutely.
They are pro.
I can't hate on that.
Yeah, they are pro ready. So we just got to give UConn their props there. All right. Let's see. Where are we? Okay, here we are, Tay. So let's talk about, this is our good and bad surprises, but really we're going to go contenders versus pretenders in this segment. Okay. So I know you have your two, and then I have two as well. And then we're going to talk about these. Okay. So let's talk about your contenders first. Who are your legit contenders for WNBA title?
The Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty. Those are my two legit contenders. Honorable mention, the Seattle Storm. Okay. But Minnesota and New York. Minnesota, first of all, New York being champions last year in 2024. So that's always, I feel like, an extra boost when teams don't have as much pressure on them. Minnesota's playing with a little more pressure than New York. As long as Jonquel Jones is able to return to New York and return to herself, her normal healthy self, and is able to produce at the level that she was prior to her injury, New York is always going to be a contender. But Minnesota just seems, as long as they're clicking and they're scoring, and Napheesa Collier is doing Napheesa Collier things, they seem to be unstoppable sometimes. So those are my two legit contenders.
Okay. So Minnesota, New York, and then we have an honorable mention for Seattle.
Absolutely.
Okay. So who are your pretenders?
The Phoenix Mercury, to me, they're my pretenders. I don't see. I watched them play versus Vegas the other night, and they had a hard time closing that game out. And I just don't see the championship experience on the roster. You have Kalia Copper, who was able to win one in 2021 with Candace Parker alongside her, but I don't see the championship experience, or just any leadership that would be able to carry them over the hump throughout the playoffs. I do think they could make it far enough into the playoffs, but I think that they may run out of gas. And my other pretender has got to be Vegas. I think Vegas, I don't think they have any more in the tank. I don't think they have it in the tank. I don't think they have enough to fight all the way to a title. Losing players like Dearica Hamby, Kelsey Plum, Alicia Clark, I just don't see it.
Yeah. All right. So here are my contenders. Okay. Of course, the Minnesota Lynx.
Absolutely.
Of course, the Minnesota Lynx, hands down, the best coach and GM in the league. Hands down, the best player in the league. And what I love about Napheesa Collier is that she's not a volume shooter, right? The ball does not have to be in her hands every second. There will be possessions where she doesn't get a touch and they don't panic.
Yeah.
But when she does get a touch, good things happen. Okay. Yeah. So of course the Lynx are my number one contender. And as I continue to dig myself out of this hole, I will tell you my number two contender. It's the Seattle Storm.
Good choice.
That's my number two contender. Okay. Still, I think they're still trying to put it together.
A little.
You're still trying to piece it together. But you cannot substitute what NECA brings. They have size.
Yeah.
They have length.
Yeah.
They have athleticism, and then they have the fire, the burning, the burning desire to just put a torch to everything that is named Skylar Diggins.
Yeah.
And then they have the do everything Swiss Army knife that you need when it comes down to playoff possessions in Gabby Williams.
Yeah, I truly, that's why they're an honorable mention. I couldn't leave off, right, the champions, the 2024 champions in New York, but Seattle, they just seem hungrier than everybody else in the league.
Yeah, I couldn't put New York on my list because the WNBA season is so short. Okay, I thought it's going to be really difficult for Jonquel Jones to come back, depending on what that injury really is.
It's an ankle injury. It's not a knee. So I'm not sure if it's a sprained ankle. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I know it's ankle. So ankle hopefully is a quicker return, obviously quicker return than knee. So maybe she's able to get back and get healthy. And
without her, they have struggled.
Yeah.
They have really struggled. So that's why I didn't put them there. So here are my pretenders. Okay. So let me go ahead and start here.
Okay.
The Indiana Fever.
Okay.
Winning that Commissioner's Cup means absolutely nothing, because when you zoom out, the Indiana Fever play 500 basketball. When you look at the big picture, they play 500 basketball. Okay, so yes, they played well without Caitlin Clark, but well is still 500, right? With Caitlin Clark, 500. Okay, so not exactly sure what it is there, but the rubber has not met the road. The substance is still less than the style. So they won that. They're still sitting in the playoff spot, but I think they are a pretender. My other pretender is the Las Vegas Aces.
Yeah.
You said they don't have anything left in the tank. I have seen them turn on the switch. I've seen them flip the switch, but the problem is they're down 20.
Yeah.
Before they flip the switch.
And maybe it's a defensive. It is
definitely defensive.
Yeah, because I think that their coach, Becky Hammond, would agree, but it's like teams aren't really doing anything special, but they have so much teams are getting layups. There's so much miscommunication with that team. It's kind of hard to watch at times.
The defense is bad. They cannot string together stops.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, sometimes, they flip that switch, and this may be controversial, but sometimes it's with the help of the officials. I think that the Aces get a special whistle. I do.
And they may get a special whistle. Man, I am a huge A'ja Wilson fan.
Yeah.
Okay. But let me be a little critical here. She doesn't go to her left hand enough for me. When they need a bucket, I think she has settled for jump shots a little too much. Okay. And then I think that she is not going to her strong hand enough.
Yeah.
That's just me in watching A'ja Wilson. So she is my favorite player in the WNBA. I love the Las Vegas Aces. But I think, number one, the defense is really, really bad.
Yeah.
But then when they do flip the switch, they can get it back to within 2 to 3 possessions. I've seen them do that numerous times. But then what happens when they get to those 2 to 3 possessions is I would like to see A'ja Wilson use her strong hand in those possessions.
Yeah.
Get to the free throw line a little bit more. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and let me do my commercial here. We're going to get back to the conversation in a second. Here at the Coaches Co-op, we're all about building championship level systems on and off the court, and we just love talking basketball. WNBA Tay is here in the co-op today. Listen, this episode is brought to you by my book that I don't have on my desk because it's back here. The Path for Coaches, Volume 1, Mentoring. Listen, I'm going to put my IG. Here's my IG right here. So if you want to get a copy of this book, The Path for Coaches, Volume 1, DM me at my IG, and I can get a copy to you. If you prefer to go to Amazon and get your copy on Amazon, you can go to Amazon.com, get you a copy of The Path for Coaches, Volume 1. My dad read this book, and my dad said, this is not just for coaches, okay? This is for anybody who is in a leadership position. So this book is about mentoring. So if you mentor, if you lead, if you coach, whatever it is that you do, get a copy of The Path for Coaches, Volume 1, Mentoring. You can get it at Amazon.com down at the bottom of your screen, or you can DM me at podcast_with_Prejean, and I can help you get a copy. All right. So if you want to level up, 5 stars.
Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend.
All right, 10 out of 10. There it is. We got a 5-star rating, a 10 fingers out of 10 fingers rating. So if you were looking to level up your team culture, you want to fine tune your playbook, or just stay motivated through the grind, make sure you check out The Path for Coaches. All right, let's get back to it. Let's see where we are, Tay. Oh, it's time for Rookie Watch.
Okay.
It's time for Rookie Watch. So let me get us back up on the screen here, and let's talk about our rookies. Okay. All right. Here's our rookies. We got Paige. So the ratings on the bottom. So those are my ratings that go along with Taylor's rookie watch list. Okay. So Paige Beckers, en fuego. She's on fire. Last week, Sonia Cintron, we had kind of bumped her down a little bit, but she obviously watches our podcast.
Right.
Like, okay, I got something for y'all. No movement from me for Kiki Iriafen. A lot of that has to do with the reemergence of Shakira Austin. And then last week, we added Tahina Pow to the list. Okay. Now, her numbers don't really compare to the other people on this list, but I want to point out 2 things. She's scoring 5.9, right at 6 points a game, but she's shooting 50% from the field and almost 50% from 3. So A, she knows her role. B, she's thriving in it. And C, she's impacting winning. Talk about your rookies. And then we're gonna add somebody to the list as well.
Right. I have an addition. So maybe our addition is the same person.
Okay, so let's talk about these, and then we'll get to the addition.
Okay, so starting with Pow, I think that the biggest thing to highlight about her play, because we talked about how her numbers they're not similar to the other rookies on this list, but she's playing on the floor with Brittany Griner, Brianna Jones, Ryan Howard, and Alicia Gray. And these 4 all-star players, future Hall of Fame players, trust her to be on the floor with them. And she makes winning plays on the floor with these amazing players, right? So she stepped into a team, unlike most rookies, that is already, star packed. And she, like you said, she knows her role and she plays it well. So that's why I think she's an amazing addition to this list, and definitely in the Rookie of the Year watch. Kiki, I agree with you. Pretty stagnant, but not that she isn't playing, and contributing to her team. It's that they're just elite. They're elite in terms of their post play. So she doesn't have to be 20 points, 15 points, 17 points, and 12 rebounds a game, Kiki Iriafen. She can just kind of do what's needed from her. Sonia, I agree. She watches. She has to be watching because she came out last week and said, "Hey, I got to make a statement." She put up some 20-point performances, and I just think Sonia Citron is amazing. I think she plays like a vet. I think she lets the game come to her. She's super smooth. She's shooting the ball pretty well. Then, of course, Paige Beckers. Paige Beckers, controversial. Paige Beckers is the best player on her team.
Not controversial. Paige Beckers is the reason Arike Ogumawale will be in Chicago next year.
She is the best player on her team. I think we expected, fans expected this dynamic duo, and I think it's been the Paige Becker show. I think it's been the Paige Becker show. So they're dealing with lots of injuries there. They're just dropping like flies. I mean, their starting five is going to be players that we probably haven't seen at all this year when it comes to their games this week. But Paige has been amazing. She is truly the best player on the Dallas Wings team.
And again, we have to give a shout out to UConn and their coaching staff led by.
All right, that's enough shout outs for UConn.
I mean, but we're Paige Beckers, UConn, Sonia Citron.
Yeah. Gino Auriemma does an amazing job. I can't give too many shout outs because I grew up a Notre Dame fan. I can't keep giving UConn all this credit, but obviously they produce amazing professional players.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sonia Citron, Notre Dame, right? Kiki Iriafen, Stanford, finished at USC, and then Tahina Paopao coming out of South Carolina. So we're talking about the best programs, the best collegiate programs in the country, and they're the best for a reason. Not only are they outstanding college programs, but they're preparing their kids for the pros. Yeah. So this is where I want men's college basketball to follow women's college basketball. Hold on, let me take this off the screen so y'all can see my face real good. Let me do this real quick. Men's college basketball, listen to me. You are the only game in the world that does not play 4 quarters. The only one in the world that does not play 4 quarters. Catch up. The other thing is these young women are staying in school for 3-4 years. Yeah. They're coming out of the top programs in the country, and they are top players on their teams. They are pro ready. So college basketball, figure it out. You can do it. I have faith in you.
You heard him.
All right, let me get my screen. Doggone men's college basketball is getting on my nerves. All right, let's see if our addition to the rookie watch list is the same.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to count to 3, and then you say the name, and I'm going to change the page. You ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3.
Anissa Morrow. Dang it.
No. Okay.
And how could I forget Aaliyah Nye? She's okay. I have 2 additions. Because she's definitely on the addition list. She just slipped my mind, and I don't know how. No, all respect for Aaliyah Nye. She's been amazing.
Okay, so let me let me talk about why I put Aaliyah Nye on this list.
She's been excellent.
She has been excellent, and she
is a sniper.
She is a sniper, but it's the timing of those shots.
Big time sniper.
She's shooting shots that have to go in.
Yes.
She's making shots that have to go in. So that 5 points per game, that's not a lot of points. That's 2 buckets a game, y'all.
Yeah.
That's 2 buckets a game, but those 2 buckets that she's getting a game are huge.
The most important buckets of the game.
They are huge. Okay. Talk about Anissa Morrow.
Anissa Morrow started the season off with injury, so she didn't come in like all the other rookies, and she didn't have the opportunity to really get on a lot of people's radar. So now she's coming back from her injury. She's playing games for Connecticut, and she's doing amazing. I watched her play versus Chicago, watched her play versus Dallas. She was dominating players like Dejanay Carrington, who's an amazing defender. So she, like Angel Reese, took everything that she brought from LSU and she's implementing it into her Connecticut play. And so I think this past week she had two very strong double-doubles. So I think that as she works her way back from injury and she's getting her time on the court, I think that she's figuring it out. The game is slowing down for her, and she's being her LSU self. She's LSU Alyssa Morrow, and it's translating to Connecticut. Now they're not necessarily winning, but I think that she's doing what we expected her to do.
Listen, I missed her in large part because Connecticut is not winning.
Right.
Okay, so I'll just say that. But it's not just what you do, it's who you do it against.
Yes.
Okay. So here are her numbers against Seattle. Okay. 20 points on 9 of 14 shooting, 11 boards.
Excellent.
Seattle's legit. Then on the 29th, 27 minutes against Minnesota, the best team in the league. She goes for 16 and 11. Okay, so it's not just what you do, it's who you do it against. So yes, Alyssa Morrow, you are on the rookie watch list. Okay. All right, so let's get back to let's talk about most improved.
Okay.
All right, we know who's on our most improved list.
Yes.
Right? I mean, there's no, no doubt about it. Can we add somebody to this list?
Yeah, I have 2 players. After watching again throughout the week, I have 2 players to add. You have anybody to add?
I do. Let's see. I added one person. I'm gonna count to 3. I'm gonna count to 3 and let's see if we got the same person. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Gabby Williams. Dang it!
Okay, Gabby Williams she's my honorable mention. She was probably gonna be on the list next week.
And my other addition is Lexi Hall.
Ah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so Kayla Thornton.
She's been amazing as well.
Great season. The Valkyries, everybody's surprised. They were about a third of the way through the season, and they're looking like they might be here to stay. They play a very good brand of basketball. So 15 points a game, 7 rebounds per game. Good play so far this year coming from Kayla Thornton. Okay, Gabby Williams. Talk about Gabby Williams, who should definitely be on this list.
Gabby Williams. Now, she could be on the Defensive Player of the Year watch list as well as this list. So I'm going to be probably adding her to that list in the future as well. But I just think that she's always been a fierce player, a super athletic player. But I think that her consistency with putting the ball in the basket has been much better this year. But she's just doing a little bit of everything. So when we get to our parlays and we're talking about what to pick for Gabby Williams, points plus rebounds plus assists, because she's doing it all every single night. Gabby Williams is doing it all. And then Lexi Hall
are coming shortly.
And then Lexi Hall is, I'm not sure if the stat is still the same, but for the beginning of the season, and I think, still to this day, she's leading the league in 3-point field goal percentage. She's shooting the ball, and this could be, a testament to her working out with her bestie, Caitlin Clark, but she's shooting the ball at an excellent rate. She's making big plays for her team. And just coming from, her, someone who got very limited minutes, she worked her way up to being a starter. She started over DeWanna Bonner, right? Which is why some people, controversial take, why DeWanna Bonner didn't want to play in Indiana anymore, right? Lexi Hall was outperforming DeWanna Bonner, which is, who would have ever thought those words would come out of my mouth, right? Lexi Hall was outperforming her.
Am I being outperformed? That's an inside joke. For those of you who are watching or listening, that's an inside joke.
Lexi Hall is outperforming DeWanna Bonner, or was outperforming DeWanna Bonner, but she's been amazing for her team. But specifically, her the improvement in her shot has been great. So Gabby Williams, Lexi Hall, Kayla Thornton, all excellent candidates for most improved so far this year.
Yeah, I'm looking at her numbers. And her numbers tell a story that reads as if she really misses Caitlin Clark. Her game misses Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, similar to how Boston was in that first stretch with her injuries.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Lexi Ho, I can give her an honorable mention. She probably would not be in my top 3, but definitely would get an honorable mention. All right, let's go ahead and let's talk about our MVPs. Now, I have no changes here. I have no changes on our MVP watch list.
None.
I think everybody who is on this list should be on this list, but there is a clear number 1, in my opinion, on this list.
There's a clear number 1.
Okay. I did add somebody to the list. You want to see if we can get it right a third time?
Is it Alicia Gray? I can't do it.
Because I do believe that there's a clear number 2.
It's Alicia Gray. Okay, thank you.
I do believe there is a clear number 2 in the MVP race. The Eastern Conference Player of the Month for May and June. I spelled conference wrong, right? Y'all see that right there? Yep, that's not how you spell conference.
Confirms.
Okay. For the months of May and June, she is the Eastern Conference Player of the Month. Her numbers have taken a little bit of a dip, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Because I believe she is a clear number 2 in the MVP watch list. Okay, Tay. All right, so this brings us to our next thing in Tay's tops. Tay's top trash talkers.
Listen, these two.
And of course, I love the way you started that off. These two.
These two are, Coach Prejean likes to call me a menace. These are the true menaces in the world. Alyssa Thomas gets, they credit her to being this quiet, very nice person, but a bully on the court. She's 100% a bully on the court. I watched her this week run over Chelsea Gray.
And then look at her.
And then look down at her and smirk and giggle after she got an and one. And the thing about her is that it's not always words. And the mic picks her trash talking up a lot. I hear her from home a lot. But it's the smiling and the smirking at players when she runs over them or when she gets an N1 call. She just looks at you and she just gives you a little like you thought you could guard me.
That's exactly what that look said.
Yeah.
When she looked at Chelsea Gray, like,
yeah. What did you think?
you thought.
And Kelsey Plum doesn't try to hide her hand. She doesn't try to hide her hand. She's barking.
I'm throwing all these rocks.
And she's barking at you. And everyone knows it. And everyone knows it. And she's been that way. So those are my biggest trash talkers. Okay.
All right. So man, that's Tay's tops for the week. So let's just do a little rundown of everything that we covered. Okay. So rookie watch. So Paige Beckers, she's head and shoulders above the rest of the group. Okay. But Sonia Cintron, Kiki Iriafin, Tahina Pau, Aaliyah Nye, and Anissa Morrow have to be in that conversation. Okay. There is only one most improved player, right? But that's Alicia Gray. And then we add Kayla Thornton and Lexi Hull to that group.
And Gabby Williams.
So those players have to be talked about. Okay. There is only one most valuable player in this league.
Yeah.
And she is of the 50-40-90 split. That is Nafisa Collier. But Brianna Stewart, Asia Wilson, Nneka Agumake, and even Aaliyah Boston, because she just puts the ball in the basket. And we've been critical. I have been critical of Aaliyah Boston, but her numbers have ticked up in the absence of Caitlin Clark. And then, of course, we had to add Alicia Gray to this list because she is the clear number 2 on that list. Okay. Tay's top trash talkers in the league, Alyssa Thomas, she of the smirk, and Kelsey, I don't hide my hand Plum.
Yeah.
Okay. True menaces in the leagues. All right.
True menaces.
So hopefully you saved your coins that we helped you make in the last episode. So I want to say we were 3 for 6. Okay. 3 out of 6 in the last one. That's really not bad. Okay. We're not telling you have to play all 6. Okay. And let me say this disclaimer. If you or anyone you know has a gambling problem, okay,
We know someone.
Gamblers Anonymous. Okay. Matter of fact, let me get the number for you right here. So, because we don't want to feed your potential addiction. Okay. So you can go to Gamblers Anonymous. There's a national helpline. Okay. There is hope. Gamblers Anonymous is here to help people who think they might have a gambling problem. So I wanted to share that with you. Okay. Before we get ready to do this, there's lots of resources out there online. No matter where you are, you can find resources. Again, if you think you have a gambling problem, Gamblers Anonymous is here to help. Okay, now that we have said that piece, let's get Tay's parlays up on the screen. Okay. For some reason, it's telling me that I'm still sharing, but you are definitely not up here. So let's see if we can do this. All right, 5 games on the slate tonight.
Love it.
5 games on the slate tonight. So here we go. We're going to give you 1 from each game. 1 from each game. All right. Tay's parlays. All of tonight's games are early, starting at about 6:30, 7 p.m. Central Time. Okay. Tay's parlays. Wait till you get your money right. We're here to help you get your money right. All right. So we have the Las Vegas Aces at the Indiana Fever. So we're going to give you 1 for each game. So this game, we're going Asia Wilson, 35.5 points, rebounds, and assists. What you got?
Controversial take, under.
Under, okay. Seattle Storm at Atlanta. That's a game I strongly suggest that you get your eyes on tonight. That's going to be a good one, okay? Atlanta plays very well at home. Gabby Williams, 21.5 points. The French, we can't call it a Swiss Army knife, the French Army knife. Gabby Williams, 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Higher, over.
Over, okay. The Phoenix Mercury at the Dallas Wings. Alyssa the Menace Thomas, 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists. She fills up a box score. What you got for us?
The only thing I'd say about this is I don't know if she'll play 4 quarters versus Dallas. This may be a game that Phoenix just takes off on Dallas. This may be a blowout. So because I don't know if she'll play 4 quarters, I'm going to say under.
Outstanding. Outstanding. See, you only get this information in the Coaches Co-op with WNBA Tay. Okay. All right. 2 more games. 2 more games tonight. We got the Washington Mystics, another good one, at the Minnesota Lynx. We have the resurgent Shakira Austin, 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists. What you think, Tay?
I'm gonna go over. I think she's been in that 20 and 10 points and rebounds. So I'm gonna go over.
She's been very, very active lately. Very active lately. All right. The last game on our slate, we got the LA Sparks, who that's actually a team I root for more than any in the WNBA. And let me tell you right now, that is not a good basketball team. Okay, enough of that. The LA Sparks at the New York Liberty. This is, in the absence of Jonquel Jones, this is the young lady who I think just needs to really, really turn it up. Sabrina Ionescu, 26.5 points, rebounds, and assists. What you got?
I'm gonna go under for Sabrina.
All right, under. So let me take y'all back through it because I know some of y'all are a little. You need it repeated. Okay, so let's repeat it for them. All right, Asia Wilson, 35.5. What you got?
I'm going under.
Under. Gabby Williams, 21.5.
Over.
Alyssa Thomas, 30.5.
Over. I mean under.
Under, because it might be a blowout.
Might be a blowout.
Not be on the court that long.
Might be a blowout.
Shakira Austin.
Over.
Over, and then Sabrina Ionescu.
Under.
Under. All righty. That's Tay's parlays. You know, if we're gonna do anything, we're gonna help you get your money right. And remember, if you or someone you know may have a gambling problem, Gamblers Anonymous is here to help you. Okay. So we definitely want to make sure we put that out there. Listen, y'all, that's what we got for today. Thank you for joining us on the Coaches Co-op with WNBA Tay. Big thanks. Big, gigantic, ginormous thanks to WNBA Tay. If you are walking away with new insight or energy for the WNBA, we did our job. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure that you subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review. Purchase, if you get the opportunity, purchase the book from Amazon.com, The Path for Coaches, Volume 1, Mentoring. Tay told you it's 5 stars, 10 out of 10, or go ahead and hit me up. You need to follow the show anyway at podcast_with_Prejean. That's where you can find all episodes, including every episode with WNBA Tay. All right. So remember, in the co-op, coaches do what most people can't. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Until next time, y'all be easy.